Good afternoon. My name is Erica Turja. I am an ESC teacher here at Lake Howell High School in Winter Park, Florida. And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about Ivan Pavlov and the behavioral and social learning tools that he came up for us. The history of Ivan Pavlov is that he was a Russian physiologist, and during the 1890s, he was researching dogs and salivation and their response to being fed. He predicted that the dogs would salivate, and they did. He then figured out that they began to salivate when they heard footsteps of the lab assistant. So dogs, they know by the sight of food, "Ooh, I'm gonna get fed." So they began to salivate. Then eventually they were conditioned, and they knew that when they heard the lab assistant coming through, that they automatically knew that they were going to be fed. So he realized that he had made a very important scientific discovery. And when he discovered that any object or event in which the dogs learned to associate the food with the lab assistant or with getting fed, that it would trigger the same response. And because of that discovery, he made it his life devotion that he was going to devote his career to studying this type of learning. Through different studies about dogs and food, Pavlov coined the term classical conditioning. And that's what we're talking about here when we talk about social and behavioral learning. It's called classical conditioning. How does this pertain to education, you might ask? I don't know. I asked the same thing when I was researching it. It's like, okay, what does this have to do with education and how we do the things that we do for our students? And I came up with quite a few things. There are many practices that teachers do from elementary all the way up to high school classes that it's classical conditioning. They do it for their students, and it's a behavioral management tool actually, and it's a learned condition, it's a learned behavior, and it's a response when a student is conditioned to a certain idea. Usually with these type of things, you can tell a kid one time or show your class one time, and that's all it takes for them to get it in their mind, and they've been conditioned. They know. I'm sure if any of you have ever been in an elementary school in the state of Florida, and I'm sure they do it in other states also, you will see a teacher, an administrator, or a school assistant at any point in time doing the 5 clap. When I walk into a room and the kids are crazy and jumping and clapping and going crazy, I can do, and immediately it could be 100 kids, and they're all gonna stop and they're gonna do it back to me, and that is telling them to settle down, be quiet, have a seat, everybody get together, eyes on me. So kids know, they are taught this from pre-kindergarten, that when they hear that 5 clap, that means to be quiet. It is a learned behavior. It is classical conditioning. We have conditioned those kids to know that when they hear the clap, it tells them what they should be doing. Another practice that is used with elementary kids that I have seen and have done myself is when they're walking in the halls. If you see kids, they're walking really straight, and they have a bubble. And all you have to do is tell kids, "Let me see your bubble." You're walking, your bubble means that you're not talking. Again, classical conditioning. It's something that is taught, the kids know it, and they automatically know when they're walking in a hall and they're to be quiet, "Show me your bubble." One of the elementary schools that I worked at, in the cafeteria, they did a daily reward for certain classes that behaved throughout the entire lunch. So what we did was we had cups at the end of the table, and there was a green cup, a yellow cup, and a red cup. And every day the kids came in, sat down, started eating their lunch. They started out on green. That was, you're doing great, you're fine, you're talking low, low voices, you're eating, all's well. I could walk right up and switch that to a yellow cup, and it's just like the traffic lights. The yellow is caution. You're getting a little loud, you're getting a little antsy, and then finally, if it's way overboard, you're too loud, you're not making good choices, I switch that cup to red. And immediately, it is amazing to watch the kids because you didn't even have to touch the cup. You could just walk up towards the cup and the whole table would just stop and look because they know it is conditioned. They know, oh my gosh, if that cup turns to red, we're toast. We're not getting a daily reward. So it was a classical conditioning in that we taught the kids that this is what it means. So for them to get that daily reward every day was big. It was a big thing because they got popcorn. They would have a pizza party. The teacher would let them watch a movie if they got so many rewards. So they didn't want to miss out on that reward every day. So the cup system was awesome because it was visual. They could see the cups. They could see me or someone else walking over to change those cups. So they knew, again, classical conditioning, a learned behavior. They knew what was expected of them, and all you had to do was walk over to the cups and they automatically know. In high school classes, I'm a high school teacher now, and several teachers use the give me a high five. If I'm standing up here and I have my hand raised, that means you're stopping what you're doing, you're quiet, you're looking at me, you're coming together as a group, and the high five, that's all it means. Like should not have to say anything. All I have to do is raise my hand, and that class knows to stop what they're doing, eyes on me, be quiet. So that is also a great thing about classical conditioning. You can show kids something and they automatically know as soon as you do it. Another thing that the high school that I work at now, our mascot is the Silverhawk, and they're called Hawkbucks. So if you have a student that is doing something nice, they're helping another kid, they finished their work on time, they turned in something that we were missing, they answered the question correctly, anything really, you could give the kid a Hawkbuck. And the Hawkbucks are awesome because there are certain bins, and a bin can have McDonald's, it can have a Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A. Kids and their food, they like to eat. They want that free gift card. So the kids take the Hawkbucks and they choose a bin, and then at the end of the week, an administrator pulls a name out and chooses a student to get a gift card. So again, it's a conditioning, it's something that they know. They don't have to be told. Excuse me. I can give a kid a Hawkbuck, they automatically know what they're going to do with it. They're gonna put it in a bin, a name could get drawn, and they could get a gift card. Who doesn't want free food? Teenagers, they like to eat, they want that food. So it also another great idea for classical conditioning. So as you can see, Pavlov's studies are very important to the education system. What he did was very important to how we correct certain behaviors. It's important to know what he did, so it is a good example of our behavioral management system. It's how we keep our kids in line. It's how we have a system in place that lets the kids know what they're supposed to be doing at any given point in time. So if you're ever wondering, why do I need to know about Pavlov and what did he do for me? He did a lot for us and for our education system, in that we now have a way to manage behaviors in our classes that we may not have had at any time before. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much and have a great night.